Hey Saints, this is attempt number 3. Usually I don't talk about the trouble you get when you try and make these videos. And a lot of times I just roll with it. I know you guys have heard doorbells and dogs and everything in my videos. I tend to just keep plowing through, but this one was just too annoying. My phone must have rang 3, 4 times. The dog scratched at the door. Everything was going on. So I'll just take it that whichever version of this finally gets uploaded must have been the one that the Lord wanted. So I was watching this video here teaching Gary Stearman interviewing Bill Salus about Mystery Babylon. Bill Salus co-wrote, I think it was, a book with Joel Richardson. I know they've been doing some debates on this too. Joel Richardson saying Mystery Babylon is Islam and Mecca, Mecca in particular. Also a city on 7 hills, as it's referenced in the book of Revelation. And he believes in the Islamic Antichrist. And I read his original book, 2008 or whatever, that went down that track. And Waleed Shobat's teaching and everybody that's on that track, I've spent plenty of time in there. But I personally think that Bill Salus might have it more right here in terms of the end times Babylon being built on the Roman Catholic Church, and that's the point he makes. Part 1 of this interview was about an hour long. I just got done with it, and I haven't yet watched here part 2, but I will. But I think there's something missing in terms of the argument that they're talking about, and Bill Salus scours the Bible. Even if you don't agree with him, the one thing you got to give the guy is that he's meticulous. So this isn't a knock on scholarly digging. This is more of a historical comment and a biblical interpretation hermeneutic thing that I think needs to get applied. And let me just show you here. The first thing I want to talk about is the phrase that causes all this. In Revelation 17:5, upon her forehead was written a name, mystery. I like the King James here, puts a comma. Mystery, comma, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. First thing I like about the way this is it's a mystery, not Mystery Babylon, like you can't know who Babylon is, but it's a mystery, the New Testament use of mystery. And let's just go into the Strong's reference on that. Mystery is mysterion in Greek. And let's do our little word study. This is where we get the hermeneutic part of this. If you do the word study, mysterion is used a lot about, in the Gospels about the coming kingdom. But you get out of the Gospels, you get, all of Paul's use of mystery. Blindness in part, happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. I'll show you a mystery. What was another one of his about the rapture, right? He's got one about the rapture. He's got one about God in you, the hope of glory. Let me just see if I can find a list of these things. Here we go. BlueLetterBible.com. It's a good resource. Mystery of the Incarnation, Mystery of the Divine Indwelling. I mentioned that. Mystery of the Union of the Jews and the Gentiles into one body. Mystery of the 7 stars, 7 candlesticks. The Kingdom of Heaven. Translation of Living Saints, there's the rapture one. Mystery of Israel's blindness, we were just talking about that. Blindness in part until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in. Mystery of iniquity. Mystery of Babylon the Great, there it is. Mystery of the church as the bride of Christ. Mystery of the restoration of all things. So apparently there's 11 of them. If they counted the same way everybody else counts these things. So especially Paul for the church age, he was unveiling the mystery, right? He was unveiling that Christ in you, the hope of glory, right here, mystery of the Christ in you, right? So he's telling a new truth that was hidden or maybe just pointed at in the Old Testament, like the salvation of the Gentiles. It was pointed at in the Old Testament. It was just a mystery in terms of how that was going to manifest. I think it was at the Council in Jerusalem. Was that, Acts, whatever, 15, 16, somewhere in there. Paul and Barnabas, I think it was, goes to Jerusalem to decide whether the Gentiles need to become Jewish before they can accept Christ. And the reference was made, quoting the Old Testament, saying that the Gentiles would be saved. And so it was there, hidden. It was just dawning on them there at the Council of Jerusalem that this was the way it was supposed to happen. And so they might have been hinted at in the Old Testament, but they're being revealed as truth in the New Testament. So historical context is the first argument I want to make in terms of this mystery Babylon. So Mysterion meaning a new revelation of truth that was hidden to some degree in the Old Testament. Well, let's take Mecca, let's take Islam. Islam doesn't even get created until the 600s AD, I think it was. And so for me, just on a biblical hermeneutic, you can't have something referenced in 95 AD, 96, when John receives the book of Revelation. How could it be a revealed truth to something that won't even be created for another, whatever it is, 500 years? I personally think that one's got to get set aside. And almost the same logic has to get applied to the Roman Catholic Church being, if you call that the mother of harlots, and a lot of people want to say then the Protestant denominational churches are the children of that. How, that being then mystery Babylon, the Roman Catholic Church, I actually think that's flawed hermeneutically as well, because the Roman Catholic Church doesn't get born until after Constantine in 300s AD. It says it's no longer illegal to be a Christian, and in the 400s, 500s AD, the Roman Catholic Church gets established. And so, again, from a hermeneutic standpoint, how could John be writing about something that won't yet be established, as the mother of harlots in that interpretation for another, 200 to 300 years? And so I think what we got to do is take it a little bit more literally, the way it is actually written. Let me go back to the Bible there. The mystery is that Babylon the Great was the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So which Babylon? Because you've got the Neo-Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar's time frame, but then you've got the ancient Babylon, the Tower of Babel, Nimrod and his wife Semiramis and Tammuz, that set up the first satanic worship, right? I mean, Babel in Akkadian actually means gate of the gods. You can very kind of clearly see what they were doing there, and especially if you read the non-canonical sources, Enoch, whatever, he was communicating with the fallen angels, Satan being the primary. And actually, if you look into the occult a little bit, he was maybe considered the high priest of Saturn satanic worship. And so I think that's what this is in reference of, that original historic Babylon, the first pagan faith system and the first world dominating empire was the mother of harlots. All those, in this case, talking about the religious systems, the mother of all the pagan worship systems down through the ages. So I think that's how this has got to be interpreted because of the historical context. Those other future contexts wouldn't make sense, right? But now how do you get to the Roman Catholic Church, which is the argument that I think Bill Salus makes really well, for the end times Babylon the Great? And that, I think, also has historical precedent by some of the reformers. I'll show you here one line of reasoning. Hang on. Here's I think this is an open source. You can find it for free on the internet. Alexander Hislop wrote this. It looks like it was in 1916. At least that's when this publication came out. And the title is "The Two Babylons, or the Worship, or the Papal Worship Proved to be the Worship of Nimrod and his Wife." And so, this goes back then right to early 20th century and before. And right here in the opening cover, he's showing how, Mother Mary and baby Jesus actually goes all the way back to the original pagan Babylonian, and these are in the artifacts. I actually taught this at the church. I got a whole slug of these ancient artifact pictures showing, the woman with the child, and that was Semiramis, and the child Tammuz from ancient Tower of Babel days, Babylon. And the Catholic Church just cut and paste Mother Mary and baby Jesus over the original pagan system. And that's really the point of this book. It's been a long time since I read it, but if I remember right, he's tracking how that original Tower of Babel satanic worship system transmitted through the ages, originally going through Babylon itself from the time of Nimrod and his wife down till the handwriting on the wall event, right? Neo-Babylon, the grandson, I think it was, by marriage of Nebuchadnezzar. And the priests of that worship system, after Babylon was conquered by Cyrus, the Medo-Persians, fleeing, and I think they fled to Turkey, I want to say. Yeah, I think that's right. It's been a long time since I read this book. But they set up shop as the priests of Zeus in the temple of Zeus. So I think that was pointed at in the book of Revelation as well. I think one of the churches, Pergamum, I think that was the temple of Zeus, and the priests coming from Babylon set themselves up as the priests of Zeus there in Pergamum. If I'm remembering this history right, and somebody will probably correct me in the notes if I got this wrong, but the last act after a few hundred years, as that system was falling, was that they transmitted the right of the priesthood down to pagan Rome. And so now you've got the priesthood of Zeus moving down to the priesthood in pagan Rome, which then was in place when Rome adopted Christianity. All of a sudden, all these statues, Mercury becomes the statue of Paul, and the Mother Mary and baby Jesus, concept gets cut and pasted over the top of the existing statues, and what would have been at that time, the Diana or whatever. Those Titan Roman stories go back to, the Greek Titan Roman stories go back all the way to the original Tower of Babel. And in Genesis 6, we know that even, because it existed before and after the flood, That even, might have gone all the way back to the Nakash in the Garden of Eden, the fallen one, the original satanic. So I think personally, when you get to Revelation 17:5, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots, that was the Tower of Babel, Babylon, Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz, with the first original satanic worship system spawning the mother of all the pagan worship systems. I think that's the revealed truth, the mystery that's being revealed. Because again, how can you reveal something that hasn't been created yet in the case of Roman Catholicism or in the case of Islam? But yes, I do think, what's the end times manifestation of that ancient Babylonian pagan worship system? I think it is on the top of Roman Catholicism, because that was the original handoff of the priesthood. The original basis for pagan Romanism was the pagan worship that had that long trail, that long history that goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel. And so I guess that would be my argument, having listened to Bill Salus make a good defense of the end times Babylonian worship system being built on the back of Roman Catholicism of the current day. I just think there wasn't enough emphasis put on how that's historical, and that the mystery Babylon isn't really a mystery of who is it. It's the mystery being revealed, as that word is used, mysterion, in the New Testament, that the ancient Tower of Babel, Babylon, was the mother of the harlots. So God bless, saints. Leave comments below. I know that one's controversial for a number of reasons, but I think we got to follow good biblical hermeneutics when we look at this thing, despite all the passionate, teaching and books being written. I think you just have to apply good biblical interpretation techniques to actually sort this one out. That's my humble opinion. God bless, saints. Keep looking up.